The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, Custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Looking for a professional website without breaking your budget? Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show, get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios, take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the Mike Wagner Show.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here with the most talented drummer in the business, and he's also a keynote speaker. He's a session and touring drummer. He tours with John Cougar Mellencamp, played with him for 17 wonderful years. He also played with Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, the Rolling Stones, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, and the list goes on and on and on and on. And not only he does drumming for a living, he also teaches people how to embrace adversity and gain confidence in their personal and professional lives. So live, ladies and gentlemen, from the Plus Studios in beautiful sunny California, ladies and gentlemen, the number one drummer in the world right now, Kenny Aronoff. Kenny, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome, man. I love your intro. I'm not the number one drummer. I'm a good drummer, but it's wonderful that you said that. Thank you.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I've listened to your work. I mean, you're number one in my book, and I'll tell you that. And I'm not blowing smoke on my rear end. You know, I've listened to drummers. I got to say this. You're definitely up there, I'll tell you. So you've been a drummer for 17 years with John Cougar Mellencamp, and also keynote speaker. You go around the country and, giving all the talks and everything, and you just have an interesting history. And before we get into all that, tell us how you first got started.
Well, I mean, the speaking part?
We'll get to the drumming part, then we'll get to the speaking part. So go ahead.
Okay, well, I mean, basically my story, and probably some of the people already know this one. I mean, I was just a little kid, playing outside and in Western Mass, and there was nothing to watch on TV. And my mom yelled for me and my brother to come in the house. We thought we were in trouble, and when we get into the family room, she's pointing to this black and white RCA TV set with the rabbit ears. And, had tinfoil on it to get better reception. And there was those days. Those days. Remember that? So there were four guys, dressed in suits. They had long hair. They had guitars on, and there was a drummer. And the lead singer went up to the microphone on this TV show and went, She loves you, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah. And for everybody listening, that was the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. And I turn around, I flip out. I'm like bouncing off the walls. I'd never seen rock and roll. And I'm yelling at my mom, who are these guys? She said, well, they're the Beatles. And I went, well, I want to play in the Beatles. Can you call them up and get me in their band? When I was 10 years old, you know. So, and I said, I want to play drums. No more piano lessons. The hell with this piano lesson crap. I'm playing drums now. And she didn't get me drums, didn't get me, she didn't call the Beatles either. And
so I started I want to get on the phone with them, so.
Yeah. I started my own band called the Alley Cats, and we played Beatles music. But let's jump ahead 50 years, and I get called to be on a CBS special called The Night That Changed America, honoring the Beatles for that Ed Sullivan Show. And now I get to perform with Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr, the two remaining Beatles, along with Stevie Wonder and Joe Walsh from the Eagles, Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters, to name a few. And it's kind of like dreams come true. But what happened in between is the heavy story, and that's in my autobiography, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, The Hardest Hitting Man in Showbiz, which I'm about to do an audio version later this year. And I actually have a book, too, that's coming out, which is more detailed about the kind of things you have to do to be successful and stay successful in your life and career. So, yeah, I mean, that's how it all started. And, and since then I've recorded on over 300 million records sold, 1,300 gold, platinum, diamond records, and 60 nominated or won Grammy Award records.
Wow, that is amazing. And, of course, besides that moment that influenced you into being a drummer as well, too, who are some of your favorite drummers growing up?
Well, back then in rock and roll, it was Mitch Mitchell from Hendrix. It was John Bonham from Zeppelin. It was Ginger Baker from the Cream. Keith Moon from the Who. For starters, Ringo Starr, Charlie Watts, and the less is more kind of thing. And but then I was listening to jazz drummers because my dad, on his turntable, it was jazz, and so I was hearing people like Gene Krupa, Buddy Rich, Louis Bellson, Philly Joe Jones, Elvin Jones, Joe Jones, Max Roach, to name a few.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like a lot as well, too. And we'll talk about some of the performers you've done as well, too, a little bit about your book and also about your speaking. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com. Powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs at below the competition rate. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at facebook.com/the Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here a session and touring drummer of 17 years of John Cougar Mellencamp, also keynote speaker Kenny Aronoff here on the Mike Wagner Show. And you've also, like I mentioned, you've drummed with John Cougar for 17 years. And tell us how you got started with John Cougar Mellencamp and what's it like working for him?
Well, I'll back up a little bit. Through high school, I played in bands, and it was time to go to college, and I had to pick a major, and I picked music, but there was no school of rock, so I spent 5 years doing intensive classical training. I was at the #1 school of music in Indiana University, Bloomington. Very difficult to get into, but harder to stay in. I spent one summer at the Aspen School of Music, run by Juilliard, an elite music camp, which you audition for. But then I spent 4 consecutive years auditioning for the #1 student orchestra in America, if not the world, run by the Boston Symphony Orchestra at Tanglewood in Western Mass, where I got to work with Leonard Bernstein, Sergio Zauer, Aaron Copland, Michael, all these different conductors that conduct the Boston Symphony Orchestra. Long story short, I graduate college. I get a job in Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And I was offered a job in keynote orchestra. I turned them both down. And basically what I tell everybody, I turned them down because when I'd seen the Beatles, before I even realized what was happening, that was my purpose in life. It was my passion, my deepest desires, my love to be in a rock and roll band, make records, and tour. But I didn't know how to do that. And there was no blueprint. There was no mentor. There was no book or manual. So I did the classical thing. But when I got offered the Jerusalem Symphony Orchestra, it was a day of reckoning where I decided that, thank God, I followed my heart and not my mind. And I basically turned down certainty for complete uncertainty. And that is to try to be a drummer in a rock and roll band. Well, I moved back home and humbly moved back home after all those success and started practicing 8 hours a day and studied with 2 great drum set teachers, one in New York and one in Boston. A year later, I moved to Indiana, where I'd gone to school, and started a band. Somebody invested, or one of the fathers invested $30,000. We had truck, lights, PA, lived in a band house. The business model was, write songs, get a record deal, go on tour, become famous like the Beatles. Didn't happen. 3 years of that, it did not happen. I was going to move to New York. I'm 27 years old, and somebody tells me there's this guy who was Johnny Cougar, who lived in Bloomington, just fired his drummer. I kind of had seen him on MTV, which was a new TV show. They were kind of using that band along with Tom Petty and a few others to kind of get that whole platform rolling. And he had songs on the radio. I think it was I Need a Lover, Won't Drive Me Crazy, a couple other ones. And right there in Bloomington. And I went, wait a minute, oh my God. This is what I've been always wanting to do. So long story short, I audition. I'm completely blown away. John is all business. He had lost his record deal already. He'd gotten it back again. I didn't know anything about the music business, with top 100 radio and, singles and album on the radio, and how the pressure of keeping your record deal and having to always produce. And John was very, very serious, very serious. It was not much joking around. And so I get the audition. I audition, played 2 songs, and I get the gig.
Nice.
5 weeks later, we're in LA making a record. And it was a Nothing Matters Than What If It Did record. I had no experience playing in a session. The producer, Steve Cropper, wanted to get this record done fast. And I didn't know it until John told me when I wrote my book. John, basically what I'm saying is after 2 days, I got fired from playing on the record.
Oh, my gosh.
I was devastated. And I said, and as John's telling me to go home, I tell him I'm not going anywhere. I'm not leaving. He was indirectly, and me not even understanding, but he was taking away my bliss, my dream, my purpose in life. And so I'm sitting there going like, no, I'm not going home. And they're in shock. They don't know what to think. And I said, well, look, I'm desperate at this point. Am I still your drummer? And I turned into a kind of a fight or fight mode, not really fully aware of what I was doing, but that's what I was doing. And I said, well, am I still your drummer? He said, yeah, but you're not playing on the record. And what had happened is the producer needed to get this record done, mixed, recorded, everything in 8 weeks. And the drummer, they were recording the tape back then. There was no Pro Tools. There was no technology to edit and fix like they can now. You had to be a drummer that had great sounding drums. You had to play in time. You had to make it groove. You couldn't make mistakes. You had to be perfect from beginning to end. And you had to understand radio and hit records. I had none of that experience. So that's why John didn't want to fire me. John was like, no, he's my drummer. And as a matter of fact, he told the producer, I'm not firing him because when this record's done, I need a drummer. So I told John, well, if I'm still your drummer, I'm going in the studio to watch these studio players cut these songs that I came up with, my drum parts I came up with. And I did. And I said, and then I said, that's going to be good for you because I'm going to get better. And he didn't say anything. I went, I went, well, I'll work for free and I'll sleep on the couch. He said, okay. And so I did stay. I did get a bed, but I did stay and I learned a lot for 4 weeks from all these two drummers, Ed Green, Rick Slosher, really great drummers, and went home and revamped my entire way of practicing and playing so that I could serve John Cougar at that point, his music. Learn how to play less is more. Learn how to play in the style that was perfect for John Mellencamp's music, his team, his everything, his brand. And that was the beginning of me learning how to be the drummer I became.
That is amazing. And 17 years has to be a very, very long time. I mean, it's just fantastic what you've done. And after 17 years, John Cougar Mellencamp, from where I stood, took a break as well, too. You later, played drums for Sir Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, The Stones, Lady Gaga, Bruno Mars, Sting, Bob Dylan. I mean, you've got an impressive list. And, tell me about some of your favorites and which ones did you really enjoy playing for? Maybe a little bit of some stories about these guys.
Well, it's very difficult to pick between, Paul McCartney, Sting, Rod Stewart, Lady Gaga, Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Celine Dion, Meatloaf, John Bon Jovi, the Smashing Pumpkins, Tony Iommi from Sabbath, Alice Cooper, the Girls, Michelle Branch, Melissa Etheridge, the R&B guys, B.B. King, Ray Charles, Buddy Guy. It's crazy. The Buddy Rich Big Band, Hans Zimmer. It's really, they're all like outstanding geniuses at what they do. But I'd say one of my favorite artists, always touring and recording, which I did 10 years with, was Melissa Etheridge. Another one was John Fogerty, who I've been with for 6 years. Bon Jovi was phenomenal. Sting, unbelievable playing live with him. What an honor. Springsteen, Elton John. He asked me to go on tour with him. I turned it down to stay with Mellencamp. The reason why all this session work came about was, when I got with John in 1980, it was, you'd spend 2 years learning songs, recording them, doing videos and promo, going on tour for a year, take a month off and start again. So we did that for 4 records. And we went from playing in 2,000-seat venues to playing in 20,000-seat venues with no opening act. Just us, hit after hit after hit, because we had a body of work. And it was our world. And then all of a sudden, John just quit. He wanted to take a break. Now, he said he was going to quit for 3 years. I was in Milwaukee at Milwaukee Fest. I'll never forget. And I was devastated. I was like, oh, my God, I'm at the mercy of this guy. If he quits, I'm out of a job. And I had just gotten divorced, had child support, mortgage, utilities, all this. So I went, I freaked out that night. The next day I woke up, I've been working for one rock star for 8 years. Now I'm going to work for all the other ones. And I went out to L.A. and tried to make it as a session guy. And after a year, I scored real big. I was doing sessions here and there, but then I got with a producer, Don was, that suddenly we were doing Iggy Pop, Bob Dylan, Elton John, Bob Seger, which led to tours, and then just on and on. And Bonnie Raitt, B.B. King, just unbelievable. And then eventually he hired me for the Highwaymen, which is Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Chris Christopherson, Waylon Jennings. It just kept going and going. Joe Cocker for 10 years. And the studio work thing became this huge other career I had. I had 2 drum sets in Nashville, 2 sets in L.A., 2 sets in New York, a lot in Indiana, of course, 1 set in Japan, 1 set in Germany. People would fly me first class all over the world, put me in expensive hotels, give me rental cars, per diems. I was treated like a king, but I would make hits for them. Meatloaf, Bat Out of Hell 2 with I'll Do Anything Love, but I Won't Do That, 40 million records. Wow. Celine Dion, 2 albums, 40 million each. Ricky Martin with Shake Your Bomb Bomb on the Livin' La Vida Loca record. 18 million. The record labels were making like 85 cents, 82 cents on the dollar. Times that money, millions, is a lot of money. And this would generate income to launch other bands' careers and get them in the studios. It takes money to put them in the studio. It takes money to get them on the road. It takes money to get them on the radio. It takes money to give them a publicist and branding, and it takes money to make money. And I was part of making hits that would make money, and that was great for the bands, and it was great for the labels. It was great for everybody, and great for me.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like it too. And of course, your two idols that you watched back in '63, '64, the Beatles. What was it like playing and working with Sir Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr?
Oh man! Well, when I did that CBS special, I was absolutely, I was focusing on doing a great job. But when I got done, I walked out to find my wife, and there was elite seats out there. There's Tom Hanks, his wife, Ringo Starr, his wife, Paul McCartney, and his girlfriend, and George Harrison's widow, and Yoko Ono, and Sean Lennon, and Johnny Depp, and Sean Penn, and Tom Cruise. And as I'm going by them, I'm looking, and I played with Ringo the night before in the Grammys, and I'd done something else with Ringo, and I'd met Paul, and we had a great conversation before the show. Me, Paul, Ringo, Don Was, and Ben Tench from Tom Petty, and they were talking about what it was like living in Liverpool, and I think they said we thought we were old. We were smoking fags, which is cigarettes, and yeah, we went to this record store. We thought we were old. And they were only in their 20s.
Oh my!
And Paul goes, "The guy's playing a chord on a guitar. It was a minor 6 or something." Or 7th or something. He's playing his guitar, and Paul's telling us a story. He says, "John, look at that. What's he doing?" And he says, and the guy says, "Well, it's this kind of chord." And he said, "We used it in Michelle, the song Michelle. Never again did we use it, just that one time." I mean, just the intimate stories that they shared with us. And back to when I ran into Ringo after I performed at the CBS special, he's applauding me and saying, "Bravo, Mr. Aronoff." And I'm like completely flabbergasted because I literally got on one knee, and before I could say anything, he goes, "That's okay, I'm already married, Kenny." Hilarious. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And I thought you were going to deliver the knighthood to each other or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a great sense of humor. But I told him, I said, and these words just fell out of my mouth. I mean, I said, "Dude, you're the reason why I play the drums. You're the reason why I play rock and roll. You and the Beatles set me on a course at age 10 I've been on ever since. And I have to thank you." And I got up and walked away. Uh-huh. And it was just a profound moment.
That is amazing as well, too. And, of course, you went through all the diversity and everything else. We'll get to more about that. But first, listen to The Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking our budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. That's 1-800-303-3960. Or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, the Mike Wagner Show can be heard on the MikeWagnerShow.com. You can check our Facebook page at Facebook.com/The Mike Wagner Show. You can download and listen on Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also on Anchor FM, Radio Public, iTunes, Google Play, and over 25 podcast platforms. Take the Mike Wagner Show with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Also follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram and Twitter today. We're here a session and touring drummer and keynote speaker Kenny Aronoff here on the Mike Wagner Show, and you talked about going through adversity and gaining confidence and all the barriers that you encounter in life but manage to overcome. And you go ahead and teach those principles and tell us more about that and what got you started as a keynote speaker.
Well, I started to reflect and think about, like, when I wrote my book, how did I become successful? How does somebody become successful? And I teach these principles when I lecture, and there are some key things that we have to do, and it really relates to being in a band. But most businesses, even relationships, if you think about it, are a team. So the first principle is to serve the team for the team. And this book I'm reading by Keith Ferrazzi is one of the biggest networking gurus in the world. He talks about co-elevation, which is working with people where together you elevate together the team. In other words, I need you to be great so that I'm great. And you surround yourself with these type of people. So in my case, being with great musicians, when I record, I need the bass player to be great. It's not about me. I'm serving the artist, the band, the producer, the engineer, the record label, anybody to get this song on the radio be number one. But I need them to be great like me so that we sound great. So I think I've always been in that mentality of serving. It's not about me. The song doesn't get on the record just because of me. It's my contribution to the sum. So serving. The other thing is the next step too is you have to be innovative and creative, especially a musician, to serve the team, to get that song good. John would come in, Mellencamp would come in and play a song on acoustic guitar and look at me and go, what do you got? 1 or 2 tries, that's it. He played on guitar. He said, what do you got? He was looking for a creative drum part, simple but creative, to get this song on the radio. There was a lot of pressure on me, and I came up with a 4-step formula on how to be creative under pressure. When you're whether you're a drummer in a band or in a business meeting, and the 4 steps are real simple. Think of the obvious so that you have a starting point. If someone's going to come to you, think of the obvious. At least you have something to say. Then embellish the obvious, and then embellish it again, and finally just think out of the box. And I came up with beats for so many hits for John over the 17 years that saved my butt and kept his career going. The next thing is you have to always be trying to get better. Just because you become successful. I'm on one of John Mellencamp's biggest hit ever, Jack and Diane. It blew me up, one of the most air-drummed drum parts on top 100 radio ever, along with Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight. And that's like 38 years later, it's still on the radio. That I had to come up with that beat, and I had to make that song a hit by coming up with that creative beat. But the point is, when that song became number one, I was excited for about 2 seconds. Then I realized, oh my God, I got to do this again. How am I going to do this again? I don't know what the song is that John's going to play me in 2 years. You know what I mean? It's always, you have to, and by the way, always trying to be good is broken down into 3 subgroups. One, you have to work hard every day. You have to be self-disciplined. I practice, or I work hard. I have all kinds of, projects that I have deadlines, and I have categories and subcategories, and I follow them meticulous. I have measurables, so I'm accountable. Anyway, it's working hard, self-discipline, and persevering like a running back. Keep going into the end zone over and over and over again. Because if you stop working hard, then you will lose your position. You need to do that to be successful and stay successful. The next thing is the thing I call CCC. You need to be able to connect with somebody so you can communicate with them so that you can collaborate. I've never met Elton John before. I walk into the studio, I go right to him. I got to meet him. I got to connect with him. Start talking, start joking around. Now we can play music. CCC, connect, communicate, and collaborate. And the fourth thing is, in my business and most businesses, and when I gave a lecture for Avanti, this huge software company. It was for 600 people from all over the world. They wanted me to talk about staying relevant. You have to adapt and adjust in any business, which very quickly to stay relevant so that your job, you have a purpose in your job, and it helps the company. And all of those things I just talked about are action items, but the big nugget is exactly what happened when I saw the Beatles. I realized from in my heart, not my brain, in my heart, that my passion and my truth and my purpose in life was to play drums in a rock and roll band that would make me happy. And when you realize what is your purpose in life, in this short little life we have, you will be unstoppable, undeniable, and you will be authentic. And yet that will fuel you to do all those other things I talked about. Mm-hmm. Because when I wake up in the morning, I can't wait to do what I do. But I'm the guy who doesn't want to turn the lights off at night because I'm still digging what I'm doing.
You remind me of the Geico lizard. It's basically you don't go to a job, you just love what you're doing. That's what it sounds like in a nutshell.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, you talked about, all the perseverance, the businesses, relating and everything else. And how about in times of pandemic? What's your best advice that you give to, people in business or in business during the times of the pandemic, like with all the crises that's going on, layoffs, eliminating, and social distancing, and we'd normally be talking one-on-one, but also doing everything virtual. So what's the best advice, or what do you have to say about the pandemic, how to handle it?
Well, stay busy. You create, you look at, make a list, and you go, this is what I was doing this year. This is how I earned money. These are all the things, goals I had this year. Now go to the right and say, now what can I do? What can I do in this new system? Okay, how do I need to reinvent myself? What can I do? You stay on that piece of paper until you come up with a new list. Then you execute. You stay busy every day. The day that this pandemic came, excuse me, I started going to my studio every day. Now, for example, 15 years ago, when people stopped buying records, I adapted. I got a studio, Uncommon Studios, where people can send me files from all over the world. I've got 8 songs waiting to record right now. I go to my studio. I've got mics. I've got a whole full-blown studio. I get an engineer. We record my drums to your music. I send them back to you through the internet. Well, that was me staying relevant and adapting to the system that changed. Well, I just did it with speaking. I am now putting in huge, cameras and lights and all the equipment to give virtual speaking in my studio. So I will be able to adapt. The companies are adapting. I'm adapting also. So I will continue to be able to speak. So the speaking business and the recording business, I adapted. I'm doing an audio version of my book. I'm taking courses on networking and writing and I'm growing, and I'm taking this time to learn new things that I can use in this pandemic, from a distance. Learned a lot about technology and the equipment I use. The other thing you have to keep in mind is very important to stay strong mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. So eating well, exercise. I have 8 steps to being healthy that I have to remind myself and use guidelines to make sure that I am, not losing my health, because that's very important. This pandemic has affected people in ways still yet to come, because we're social creatures. We're used to a routine, and we're also used to recovering very fast. Something goes wrong, you fix it, you get through it. You get the flu, you're done in about 2 weeks. This could be 2 years, So we don't know. It's kind of a new adjustment for us. How do you adjust to something you've never experienced in ways that we don't understand emotionally and, in untangible ways? So stay busy, stay healthy, move around, go out. And obviously with social distancing and masks, but don't just sit and, go down that dark rabbit hole of doom and gloom.
I've heard that expression before, too. Alice in Wonderland, most commonly referred to. You talked about the 8 steps of being healthy. Maybe you can give us the 8 steps, or maybe just a few, especially the most important ones.
I can give you 8 real quick. First one's lifting weights. And you could be just push-ups. That will keep your hormone levels up, which keeps you healthy, keep your immune system up, keeps you young. 2, cardio. Only way to exercise the heart, keeps the immune system up by keeping your hormone levels up. 3, flexibility, stretching. So you got stretching, endurance, and strength. 4, diet. We all know how to eat healthy. Vegetables, fruits, non-processed foods, low on sugar. Okay, 5 supplements. I take a lot of supplements because, like fish oil, which is great for about 30 different organs. I take multiple vitamins made by Pure, Pure, or New Chapter. Great. Vitamin D, I take 10,000 a day. I take zinc. I take, extra vitamin C. I take super green food. I take a very, very, very good protein powder. These are supplements. Number 6, water. You got to drink water. It's like every organ in your body depends on water. Every organ. You die after 3 days without water. You can go 40 days without food. Okay, water. And now we're down to 7, relaxation. The way you relax, meditation or deep breathing. You get stressed out, deep breathe. Stress can make you sick so fast. Think about it. If I said your best friend just died, you'd feel ill. You literally would feel ill. Stress and mental pressure can affect your body like immediately. So take deep breaths 3 times a day even, and it will really, the thing is you take 4 seconds deep breathing in. You hold for 4 seconds, take 4 seconds breathing out. Oh my God, it's like putting gasoline in a car. Can you feel the difference immediately? Right? And then the last one, and meditation, if you can, if you're up for that. And the last one is sleep, which is a little bit difficult for me, but really it's good to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep because not only does it rejuvenate your body and let it heal, but it rejuvenates your brain, and it does this too. It basically lets the brain repair and get rid of stuff that you don't need. A brain expert told me this, a sleeping expert. It gets rid of like ashes in the fireplace. It also, that's when your brain memorizes what you experienced that day. It's fascinating. So those are the 8 steps.
That is amazing. And when you talked about that meditation and relaxing, I actually did that. And I got to say this, it actually worked.
It does. You forget to breathe. We forget to breathe. When you're tense, you breathe short breaths. It's like if you turn the corner and saw a lion, you go, that's because you're scared. You're tense. Well, when you're tense, in general, you breathe very short breaths. Breathe from your diaphragm. Take deep breaths. It's amazing. It's like an instant massage inside, and you feel like rejuvenated. Mm-hmm. So we should just do that 3-4 times a day. And you're right. Isn't it great, Mike?
And you know something too? Ever since I started broadcasting, you had the breathe from the diaphragm. That was the very, very first thing. And I'm glad you reinforced it. And another question is, what about coffee? What are your thoughts on that?
Love it.
Whoa, here. Have a cup on me.
Dude, I'm a coffee drinker. And as a matter of fact, dude, now that you said that, I've got a coffee coming out called Kabam.
Kabam, wow.
Kabam, and it's coming out, I think, August 6th, maybe, August 4th. And it'll be on, I'll post it on my social media, which is, I have Instagram, Kenny Aronoff. I have Facebook. You guys, I'm sorry, I can't add you to my personal Facebook because I tapped out 8 billion years ago. But I have a Facebook fan page, too, Kenny Aronoff. And then I have Twitter, which is official Aronoff. And I have LinkedIn, Kenny Aronoff. And I have a YouTube channel, which you can see on my YouTube. But all that coffee will be, Kabam, will be posted there. And it's badass. I was like, oh, God, coffee. They're going to send me something. Most coffee isn't great. I went, wait a minute. This is awesome. It's an espresso, Italian roast. And I have to tell you, man, I was like, oh, my taste buds must be just right for today. But every time I drink it, I'm like, yeah. So I start off with a cup of coffee, and then I have a double espresso. Sometimes I start with a large cup of coffee and I add an espresso to it. And then I go to a double espresso. Try to keep it to 4 cups or 4 things a day. But if I could, I'd go for I drink 8.
I remember back in the days, I had those really big silver pots, before going to Mr. Coffee. I can imagine myself drinking straight from that, like those big ones, like the percolators. What do you like, 30 cups or something? Oh, my goodness.
Well, the thing is, I mean, it also depends on how many coffee grounds you put in. And, you know, if you make it real strong, which sounds like you like it like mud. And
not exactly mud. I mean, it's black. I don't put anything in it.
Yeah.
But not the Starbucks type. It's like once in a while, I'll put a little, chocolate in it. It can be a powder. It can be a syrup.
Oh, yeah.
Hot chocolate, everything like that.
My rule of thumb at this point is no milk in my coffee, no ice in my whiskey.
Sounds like a song that John or any of your boys would sing about.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
or like
God.
a Waylon Jennings would like sing about, one of those like authentic cowboy country western guys. You know, those guys.
Yeah, exactly. You know, having cowboy coffee, and of course, an expression I heard from a long time ago is how I like my coffee is how I like my women. Do you think that's true today?
Wait, what's the question? I got the subjects real good. Coffee and women.
Yeah,
Right.
how I like my coffee is how I like my women.
Oh, how I like my coffee. Oh, hot and dark. I don't know. Warm and feisty. I want an espresso woman. No, well, actually, that's how my wife is. She's probably a 5-cup espresso. She's a feisty, like she's amazing.
And I gotta say this: my lovely wife Serena likes coffee, but it's a cold brew, and it's also French vanilla, a very particular type. Organic and everything else, and for me, I just like it nice and simple.
Me too. I like black coffee, man. Strong black coffee.
That's right. And of course, you also talked a book as well too about sex and rock and roll, and tell us a little bit about that. I'd like to have you on back again and talk more about the book and talk more about your stories and everything else, and maybe a bit about the book.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I'm doing a thing tomorrow on the book, and what I'm doing is I'm taking those principles that I do when I speak and reading from the book. The book is, you know, it basically is my story, you know, and that's where I got those principles from. Starts from when I was a kid. I grew up in a very unique town, Stockbridge, Massachusetts, where there were writers. There was only 3,000 people there, but you know, there were writers, actors, intellectual people, painters, potters. It was a really unique. Alice's Restaurant was the town I was in. Norman Rockwell, the illustrator, grew up there. I used to go to his house and steal cigarettes from him when I was in second grade from my best friend. Norman Mailer, the writer, was right. When I say next door, you couldn't see any houses. This was like an old New England town. And Sigmund Freud, his protege lived there. I mean, I was visiting my friend, and my friend's dad was a screenplay writer in New York, and his best friend was Arthur Penn, the director of Bonnie and Clyde and Little Big Man. And I walk in, and there's Faye Dunaway and Anne Bancroft and Mel Brooks and Frank Langella. I mean, it was just like it's the town I grew in. It was unbelievable. So I learned to mingle and network with some really fascinating people, which gave me an incredible education. And then I obviously went to college, studied classical music. I got my butt kicked many, many times. But, I want to say that the book talks about, there's no mistakes. Everything is an experience that just gets you to the next place in life. I've been divorced twice. I got scammed. That's in the book. Put a couple guys in prison. It was devastating. Some people could be paralyzed, frozen in their tracks for life. And I actually let it go. And the chapter's called Let It Go. I just move on. It's a running back attitude. Sometimes you drop the ball. You don't want to be the guy who dropped the ball and lost the Super Bowl. But if you do, you got to pick it up and then come back next year and score touchdowns. Life is a journey, man. It's not one play. It's many plays. So get up and go at it. Just keep moving forward. Just like a running back in football. And that book is kind of like that.
That's right. And where can we find your book at?
You go to Amazon.com, Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, the hardest hitting man in show business. Neil Peart, the unbelievable drummer from Rush, was one of my dear friends. Well, he passed away, but he's still a dear friend. I don't even know he's not here. He wrote the foreword to it, and I'm feel so fortunate I got it that he did that. My next book is it's one of my projects. It's written. I want to put some new blood into it. It'll be basically the how and why I became successful, focusing on some of those principles I talked about. Basically, if you do nothing, you get nothing. Just like math, 0 equals 0. Nobody's born successful. You make your success. You make it, and you have to network and put yourself out there, because if you don't do it, it ain't going to fall on your lap. And guys like me come by and just take it. Just grab what you're waiting for.
That's exactly it. And, of course, a few minutes with Kenny Aronoff here on the Mike Wagner Show. And just a few things here. What else can we expect from you in 2020 and beyond, besides your books, your other projects? And, what else you have coming up, like, say, in 2021 and more?
Well, I'm going to do an audio version of Sex, Drums, Rock and Roll, which is kind of exciting. Telling my story, more sessions, there'll be more speaking events. And, I'm on a Joe Satriani record, which is his highest charting record ever. Came at number 8 in the top 100 album, which was unbelievable. You guys. I mean, that's like, he's competing with all, Billie Eilish and all the rappers. And here's a virtuoso guitar player, no vocals. So Joe and I talked recently. He was going to do 2 more records during the pandemic, because why not? And my studio is available for me to record drums on. We were going to do 2, one a vocal record, because the Ray Thistlethwaite, who's a singer and guitar player, but he's the piano player on the tour, he sings. So Joe thought we'll do a vocal record and an instrumental record. Now we decided to make one record, a bigger record, and it'll have vocals and instrumental. So I'm really excited. That'll be coming out. I'll be out with John Fogerty, I assume sometime in 2021, and Supersonic Blues Machine, a band I have with Fabrizio Grossi that sometimes features people like Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, Steve Lukather from Toto. So, I never stop working. I got Kabam coming out. Who knows? Maybe I'll come up with something else.
Or Kaboom, Kabam, Kapow, Kazowie, or, think Batman or something, Kazook or something.
That's exactly, dude, that's what I thought about. I wanted to have Kapow, but they said it was a toilet bowl cleaner, so I couldn't use it.
Kapow?
So
are you trying to tell me it tastes like crap or something, Kapow?
Yeah, and I had all these words like unstoppable, which is one of my key words, and they said nope, somebody already used it. It's interesting when you try to come up with a name, you got to test it in the market, and they go, no, that's been used. So Kabam, I wanted to be just like Batman. As a matter of fact, the sticker was going to be like Kabam, but it kind of covered up my whole face, so we just went with real simple bold letters, Kabam, coffee.
Mm-hmm. And I'm looking forward to it as well, too. And of course, just a few more things here. Who do you consider biggest influence in your career, Kenny?
Wait, who's my biggest influence in what?
In your career.
Oh, wow. My dad would be one of them. He was an amazing man. People like Leonard Bernstein, who was just unbelievable. He's in my book. Some of my I was a jock when I was in high school. Those coaches really formulated me. Vic Firth and Arthur Press from the Boston Symphony Orchestra. My mom really also. Now my son, my brother, my wife. People like now I read about like guys like Winston Churchill and deep thinkers. It's there's a long list of people that I grab. If I hear something that resonates with me, I try to apply it to my life and be a better man.
That is amazing as well, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
It's the 11th commandment. I created the 11th commandment. And the best advice is this: thou shalt not bullshit thyself.
Moses, did you hear that? Hey, yeah. Why'd you break the tablets? Come on. You were supposed to put an 11th commandment and repair those stupid things.
He just might have dropped that one. The point is with that, be honest with yourself, be true to yourself, and from there you have a chance of being successful, staying successful, authentic, unstoppable, virtuous. It's a journey, folks. Just do the best you can. But it starts with being 100% honest with yourself.
And of course, let's add a 12th commandment as well, too. Thou shalt drink coffee for good health.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Sounds great. Once again, Kenny Aronoff, session and touring drummer. John Cougar Mellencamp with 17 years. Also drummed with famous greats Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, more. Keynote speaker on the Mike Wagner Show. Also author of the book Sex, Drums, and Rock and Roll and More. Big thank you for your time. You've been fantastic. Looking forward to having you again soon. Do us a favor. Keep us up to date. Once again, tell us about your upcoming projects. What's your website? How do people contact you? And where can people purchase a book? And how can people get you to become a speaker to any event?
Well, you just go to my website and there's a sizzle reel and there's a contact at Cal Entertainment, CAL Entertainment, www.calentertainment.com is the website. And then my social media, Instagram is my name, Kenny Aronoff, Twitter, Aronoff Official, Facebook, Kenny Aronoff, a website, www.kennyaronoff.com. There where you can hire me to do sessions for you, send messages to reach. I can give to my agent, the speaking agent, and then LinkedIn, and I have a YouTube channel.
That is fantastic. Once again, Kenny, a big thank you for your time. You've been very fantastic. Looking forward to having you soon. Do us a favor, keep this up to date. Love you back on sometime in 2020 and beyond, and love to have you back and some more coffee.
All right, man. Take care. Thank you.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Sonic Web Studios specializes in custom web design, app development, social networking, search engine optimization, domain registration, email marketing, online stores, and more. Since our birth, we have been designing and developing immaculate websites and providing web solutions which are a cut above the rest. As a leading web designing enterprise, we have a team of extremely talented web designers who are well-focused and have the experience of working on multiple web developing platforms such as PHP, Magento, custom WordPress, and more. Sonic Web Studios has been helping businesses of all kinds, whether big, small, established, or startup, impress their audiences with exemplary web solutions. We don't just create beautiful and functional websites. We give you a complete online solution with the main goal of enhancing your yearly revenues. We aim to give your business the online exposure and brand acknowledgement that will help you in achieving increased conversions leading to profitable sales. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.